Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Tranadapi Sunichena Tirariva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyatha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Rädhä-Raman Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Nata Narayana Vasudeva Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya The Shreemad-Bhägavatam is described as Nigama Kalpatura Galitang Phalam, the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge known as Vedas. Just as the Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the essence of all Vedic knowledge, in other words, you don't have to read the entire Vedic library. Just by reading and understanding and following Bhagavad Gita, your study of all Vedic knowledge is complete. This is what Krishna himself says in chapter 15. Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya vedanta krid veda vid eva chaham. Krishna says that the whole point of studying the Vedas is to find him. And after that verse, in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that if you know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting, then you are the knower of everything. So the two things required. You know that Krishna is the Supreme God, and you know this without any doubt. If you can pass those two tests, then you are the knower of everything. At least that's what Krishna says. One of the major purposes of studying Bhagavad Gita is to become convinced that Krishna is God. But after that, after one surrenders, after one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme God, for further study, one can go to the Shreemad-Bhägavatam, which is the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge, which we call Vedas. The Shreemad-Bhägavatam has 10 subject matters, culminating in what is called Saman Bonam. Saman Bonam means the ultimate good. The ultimate good is found in the 10th canto of Shreemad-Bhägavatam, where Shukadeva Goswami in 90 chapters describes what Krishna says in chapter 4, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Krishna says, my birth, my activities are divine, Divyam, transcendental. So that 10th canto of Shreemad-Bhägavatam describes all about Krishna's birth and activities in 90 chapters. It is the largest of all the 12 cantos. Tonight, I'm going to speak on one verse from Shreemad-Bhägavatam. This section is in the area where there is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. Most of you know about Vidura from the Mahabharata. He is the youngest of the 3 brothers, sons of Vyasadeva, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and then Vidura. Those who study know that this Vidura is actually Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. But he was cursed by a Muni to take birth as a Shudra. So that Shudra birth, he appeared as Vidura in the Krishna Leela, in the Mahabharata. And after the battle of Kurukshetra, when all of his brother's sons, Dhritarashtra's sons, were killed, Vidura went on pilgrimage and he met with Uddhava. Uddhava happened to be one of the close associates of Krishna. Uddhava even looked like Krishna, because when Uddhava was sent by Krishna to Vrindavan with a confidential message for the gopis. The gopis first thought that Krishna had returned because Uddhava looks something like what Krishna looks like. And Uddhava accompanied Krishna in many of his pastimes. And Krishna would also often take counsel from Uddhava because Uddhava was a disciple of Brihaspati, so he was very learned. So naturally, Vidura wanted to hear about Krishna from Uddhava. But Uddhava declined. He said, "No, I cannot speak to you because very nearby is someone senior to me, Maitreya Rishi. And since he is my superior, it would be a transgression of etiquette for me to instruct you. So better you go to Maitreya and pose all your questions to him." This teaches us a very important aspect of spiritual life that is called humility. Regardless of one's social position and regardless of one's volume of knowledge, the most important quality is humility. And indeed, in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is talking about the different aspects of knowledge, the very first item of knowledge that Krishna outlines, humility. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, he taught his disciples and followers that they must be humble always, and around their neck they should wear one mantra, which I chanted at the very beginning. Trinadapi sunichena tarariva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. That a devotee has to always keep himself meek and humble, thinking that I am lower than a blade of grass. I am lower than the straw in the street. I must be more tolerant than the tree. I must give all respects to others because in everybody's body resides the Supreme Lord. And I cannot be thinking whether or not people are giving me respect. I must give respect. Whether I get it back is of no consequence. Lord Chaitanya teaches his followers that these four things have to be worn around the neck for constant remembrance. So, Vidura approached Maitreya. Maitreya was also a friend of Vyasadeva, his father, Vidura's father. So, the third and fourth cantos of Shreemad-Bhägavatam is the conversation, the questions and answers between Vidura and Maitreya. In the course of that narration, one of the questions Vidura posed was that he wanted to know about the original creation. How does this universe come into existence? And he would like to know details, which Maitreya gave him. So, in the beginning, at the dawn of creation, the first created individual is Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma achieves that position because for 100 births, he executed the Vedic principles perfectly without any flaw. To become Lord Brahma is not like becoming elected to a political post, especially in Kali Yuga, we are seeing more and more people are being elected to political positions and they have zero qualifications. That is the fault of democracy. But someone like Lord Brahma, in Krishna's universal management, you don't get a post unless you're qualified. So to be Lord Brahma, you have had to execute for 100 births all the Vedic rules and regulations with no mistake perfectly. Then you can be elevated to the post of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma receives the original knowledge in the form of 4 verses directly from Lord Narayan. That is the beginning of knowledge in the universe. Lord Narayan speaks 4 verses to Lord Brahma, and they are known as Chatushloki, the seed of the Shreemad-Bhägavatam that we study. The Bhagavatam that we study is 18,000 verses. Lord Brahma is given only 4. That's all he needs. And with the information in those 4 verses, Brahma begins the engineering of the universe. He is given the ingredients by Lord Narayan, 16 primary ingredients with which to engineer the construction of the universe. This verse is the very first or the beginning of his creations. So please repeat after me so that you can hear with rapt attention. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the Sanskrit is Sasajagrayan Datamisra Matatamisra Madikrit Mahamohang cha mohang cha Tamascha Jnana Vrittaya. Sage Maitreya told Vidura, Lord Brahma first created the 5 nescient engagements: Moham, Mahamoham, Tamisram, Undhatamisram, Tama. So this is the beginning of creation, and we'll go over all of these 5 Sanskrit words one at a time. So the first of the nescient engagements, Moham. Moha means that everyone in this material world is forgetful of their real identity. That means everyone, top to bottom, has some kind of bodily conception of life. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the first thing Krishna talks to Arjuna? It's exactly this. The first thing Krishna addresses is this moham. He tells Arjuna, you have become forgetful of your real identity. You are in the illusory bodily concept of life. So the first thing Krishna tells Arjuna in 20 verses, chapter 2, verses 11 to 30, you're not the body, you are eternal spirit soul. So that's the first of the 5 nescient engagements, the bodily concept of life. It is this bodily concept of life that is the cause of all problems in the world. This is the root. Therefore, when we want to talk about peace in the world, then this has to be taught. People have to be educated. People have to be trained to think Not in terms of my country, my family, my community. No. That is where all the problems begin. I'm American. I'm this, I'm that. That's the first problem. No. The beginning, the real thing is no. I'm not man, I'm not woman, I'm not American, I'm not Hindu, I'm not any of these things. These are false designations, temporary. My real identity, I am eternal spirit soul. And Krishna later in Bhagavad Gita continues to say, not only are you eternal spirit soul, but you belong to me. You are my child. Mama eva angsha, chapter 15. Krishna says, you are my part and parcel. Just like most of you who have children, right? So your children are your part and parcel. They're individual. They have a separate identity, but they get that from you, the parent. So Krishna says, Mama eva angsha. Certainly you are my angsha. You are my part and parcel. Everyone is child of God. That's the beginning of liberation. Right there. Accepting that, understanding that, and acting on that understanding. That I am the eternal child, servant of God. Then the next item, Maha Moham, the sense of false ownership. Practically speaking, from the transcendental vision, nothing belongs to me. Why? Because I didn't create anything. We learn from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, everything is my energy. Just like if I go to your house, I cannot go to your house and, oh, I like that painting, I like that, right? I can't go into your house and start taking everything. No, because it's your property. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, everything you see here is my property. It's my energy. Now, Krishna does, because I did say, we're his children. So we are allowed to partake of just like your children. You allow your children to enjoy your possessions, your life, your wealth, right? Because you love your children, you want them to share with what you have. So Krishna is the same way. But you wouldn't like it if your children disrespected you and became ungrateful after all that you have done for them. You wouldn't appreciate them being disrespectful, right? You at least expect that you've given your children education, clothes, you brought them from infancy all the way, right? You did everything for your children and probably still are after they're married and the grandchildren. I know, my wife is the same way, right? So you at least expect some little appreciation for all, and your heart would feel pained if your child turned out to be an ungrateful person. You'd feel pain that I gave so much, and look what this person doesn't even respect what. So God's the same way. He has given us everything. We should at least show some respect. Those who don't show respect, what are they called? Demons. That's a demon. A demon is also a child of God, but has no respect for the person who put them where they are. The demon thinks this world is for me to enjoy. It's my manifest destiny, with no consideration who actually it belongs to. But a devotee, a good, sane individual, recognizes, no, this is all due to my Father, Lord Krishna. So the sense of false ownership, nothing belongs to me. This body even, the body is given and then taken away. Even if you try to hold on to it, the body one day says goodbye. Why? It's just like a car. Say you lease a car. You lease a car for 3, 4, 5 years. At the end of the contract, the company wants their car back. And even if you, no, lease is up. Our body is the same way. There is a lease expiry in every one of our bodies. Everyone. For some, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, maximum 100. Okay. You read about 1 or 2 people, they live to be 103, 4. But basically, 100 years max. Nowadays, if you reach 70, you're doing good. Okay? But the point still remains. There is an expiration date. It's hardwired. It's written as code. Right? You Indian people know. Right? Isn't it written in the hand? On the forehead? You taught me that when I went to India the first time. I learned this from you. So nothing belongs to me. I'm claiming ownership. Just like this country, my country, your country, America. They have one bhajan. This land is your land. That's their bhajan. This land is... No, I'm sorry. I was born here, but I cannot sing that song. That song is a lie. Here's the way it should be written. This land is Krishna's. We are his servants. I should record that song properly. Yes. Everything belongs to our Divine Father. Number 3, Tamisram, anger after frustration. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 3, there is a very nice section at the end of chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks the question, my dear Lord, why do people do bad things? Sometimes it seems like even against their will, still helplessly they engage in sinful activities. And Krishna immediately responds, Kama esha krodha esha. Arjuna, the original sin is lust. Lust means I want to enjoy this world without any restriction. I want to do what I want, when I want, whatever I want, and I don't want anybody telling me what I can and cannot do. Parents go through this when their children become teenagers in America. I don't know if it's true about India. But in America, I know all too well. I used to be one of those individuals. Yes. So, lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. But here's the problem with lust. The problem with lust is, and Krishna explains it in that ending section of chapter 3, lust is never satisfied. That's the problem. And because it's never satisfied, it burns you, just like fire. Just like, I know you don't go, but there is this place, maybe you've heard of it, Las Vegas. And people go there and they spend dollar after dollar after dollar after dollar. Very few people come home winning because it's designed that way. That whole Las Vegas, I've seen the shows. They've got it scientifically calculated. After so many thousand suckers, one person gets $1. So for every dollar they pay out, they collect 1 million. It's all designed. They're actually copying Krishna. Because Krishna has designed this world that if you try to exploit it, if you try to lust it, you will get very little return. Lots of endeavor, very little return on your investment. And you will not be satisfied. That's the problem. Can a fish be happy outside of the water? Impossible. The spirit soul cannot be happy enjoying matter. That's something we can meditate on. The spirit soul cannot be satisfied like a fish out of water other than something of its own nature, spiritual. But on the material plane, lust is never to be satisfied, and it burns like fire. And going back to the example of the gambler, many people, they become addicted. And just like you have Alcoholics Anonymous, you've heard of that? There's also Gamblers Anonymous. People have become addicted to gambling. I'm not making this up. It's a real thing. There is also sex addiction. That is also there. So, when the psychology is, I'm trying to enjoy, I'm trying to lord it over, satisfy my lust, but it is designed that it cannot be, and because of that, I become frustrated. When you don't get what you want, then the emotion is frustration. That's what frustration is. Frustration is, I wanted something and I can't get it. I'm frustrated. Ugh. I want this thing, but I can't get it. So I become frustrated. And after frustration, the next psychology is anger. Anger. So that is called tamisram. Then you have anda tamisram, the sense of death. This, believe it or not, is another illusion. Yeah, I did say that. Why would I say that death is an illusion? Because we all know people who died, and we all know, we should know, I'm next. So why did I say that death is an illusion? The answer is the Bhagavad Gita. Death is for the body, not you. Going back to the original premise, once you know that you're eternal, then this word death has no meaning. If you are fully convinced, based on Bhagavad Gita or other Vedic literatures, that you are eternal, what is the meaning of this word death? In the same way, right now the sun is setting, it's getting dark. But does that mean the sun has died? No. The sun is still there. We go to Hawaii and it's in the afternoon. The sun is still there. And now in India, what's happening? Sun is rising, right? Because we're 11, 12 hours. So if we told, say you got on the phone, Jai Sri Rädhä-Raman Vedic. So if you were to call your relatives in Bombay or Delhi or wherever, oh, the sun died. They would say, what, are you crazy? Come on. It's so hot already. So in the same way, the soul never dies. This is also taught in the opening section of Bhagavad Gita. For one who has taken birth, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. And was one of the strong arguments Krishna gave Arjuna why he should fight the battle. One of the many arguments Krishna gave, one of the arguments is Arjuna, Krishna said, you think you are killing all these family members? No, you're not. They're going to take birth again. Many of them in a better position. I've been recently, last few weeks, I've been using this example. I do a lot of airplane flying. So if you fly with one particular airline a lot, sometimes you get an automatic upgrade. You're sitting in your cheap economy seat, because that's all I can afford. And all of a sudden, the lady comes over. Sir, yes? We have a seat for you up in first. Oh, thank you very much. Upgrade. So, Chant Hare Krishna. So, if a person has lived a pious life, a religious life, then what happens in their next life? Upgrade. You get to live the life of a demigod. If you read the descriptions in the Bhagavatam or even in the Mahabharata of the heavenly planets, man, I want to go right now. It sounds wonderful. Our streets are made of asphalt, right? But in the Bhagavatam it is described that in Indra's capital the streets are made of diamonds, rubies, lapis lazuli. Pretty good, huh? No smog in the heavenly planets. No democracy either. No, what is that? What we're going to go through now, the government shutdown. They don't have government shutdowns. So if you read these descriptions in the Bhagavatam or the Mahabharata, heavenly planets sound really inviting. You want to go. So if you live a nice life, you get an upgrade in the next life. One time, I was speaking my grandson was in 5th grade, public school. So his teacher invited me to speak to the class because they were studying Hinduism. I was surprised. In a 5th grade class, so they called in the expert. They called in me. So I told all the 5th grade students, some of them, there were some Indian kids there, Oriental kids, it was a mix, American kids, and they were asking so many questions about reincarnation. I was very surprised. They were asking all these questions about reincarnation. So at some point, I introduced to them different things. So at one point I said to them, all right, right outside the classroom is a rocket ship. And after class, anyone who wants to can go with me in this rocket ship and we'll go back to the kingdom of God. All right, kids, how many want to go? So out of 30 kids, only 5 raised their hand. So I said, wait a second. How come only 5 of you want to go? And you know what they said? No, we want to stay here and play video games. So that means they have no understanding of what is the kingdom of God. Yes, my grandson raised his hand. Don't worry. He knew that much. So some people don't want to get an upgrade. So if you live in the mode of passion in your life, then you come back and again you're a human being and you get to do the same thing that you just did once again. That's it. You stay in the mode of passion, you're going to come back. Can't guarantee you're going to come back as an Indian. No guarantee. I've told you the story. One devotee couple I know, they went to a Brigu astrology. You've heard of the Brigu? The Brigu is supposed to be the upper echelon of astrologers. So the Brigu astrologer said, you two, you've been married 5 times. Each time you switch roles. Now you're the husband, you're the wife. Next time, you're the husband, you're the wife. Kind of scary, huh? So, when you go home tonight, look at your partner and say, Hare Krishna. Because be careful, you may be coming back together again, but you get to experience the other shoe. Then if you live in the mode of ignorance, you get a D grade. You don't come back as a human being. You come back as an animal, an aquatic, a bird, cockroach. Huh? Yes, it's all possible. This explains why we have different kinds of living. It's not by accident. It's not by chance. It's not that God is saying, all right, you become a monkey. No. This is all by the choices that we make, how we live our lives. That's why Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita, if you live in the mode of goodness, this is going to happen. If you live in the mode of passion, this is going to happen. But if you live in the mode of ignorance, you can expect this. Adho gacchanti tamasa. You're going to go down. So the sense of death is another kind of illusion. Because you are eternal. You're simply going to change. The example is also given in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. As you put on new garments, as the old ones become useless, right? So when this body is no longer useful, you get another one. Or you've all had this experience here in California. When you first started out, you were a brand new couple, You weren't millionaires yet. So you had to buy a very inexpensive Toyota Corolla. All right? Then you became successful. Your next car, Camry. I'm driving a Camry now. All right. Then you get raise in pay, more stature. Now Lexus. Yes. I got the Lexus. Right? You didn't worry about the Corolla or the Camry when it was time to upgrade. You were happy. Got rid of that thing. So the same way, Krishna says, your body, yantra rudhani mayaya. Chapter 18, Krishna directly says, yantra, machine. Car is a machine. Your body is a machine. You're riding on it. So, the last of the 5 Nescient engagements which Brahma created at the beginning of his creation. Tama, self-deception. Self-deception is, I look at myself, I think of myself in a certain way, but in reality, I'm something completely different. Say, for instance, Duryodhana. So many times his elders were telling him, Duryodhana, there's no way you can defeat the Pandavas. So many. Bhishma told them, Vidura told them. So many times it was pointed out to Duryodhana. So many times. Duryodhana, you cannot win this war. You're going to lose. Your whole family is going to be annihilated. But Duryodhana was influenced by self-deception. Every time they would point out the superiority of the Pandavas, he would negate it. And he would say, me and Karna can do everything. I don't need you. Me and Karna can do everything. Self-deception. Because what happened at the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra? Who won? Not Duryodhana. Yes. He was self-deceived. Some other time I'm going to do a class on Duryodhana. And there's a word, hubris. I think it's a Greek word, but it's very popular now. They use this word a lot in the political circles. They describe many politicians of a particular denomination with this word hubris. Hubris means exactly like this, self-deception. That you have this inflated idea of who you are, where in reality you're nowhere near it. Another way this hubris is explained, just as a little side thing. So, in political circles now in the United States, there are many of these people, like you remember when they had the Sandy disaster on the East Coast, right? It was around this time last year. So many homes, thousands of people flooded and destroyed, right? So the discussion came up in Congress, we have to give aid to these people. So many of this particular persuasion, not going to get into it, but there's a certain political party, they said, no, we should not give federal money to these people. Except some of these guys were in Colorado, 3 of them. What happened to Colorado recently? Floods. What was the first thing these 3 rascals said? We need federal aid. That's hubris. They wouldn't give it for somebody else, but when it happens to me, oh, please help me, help me. Hubris. Demons. I'm not making this stuff up. This is reality. This is truth. I'm sitting on this Vyasa-san. I have to speak the truth. Otherwise, pull the cord. So the way to not come under the influence of self-deception is to read Bhagavad Gita, Shreemad-Bhägavatam, chant the holy name of the Lord, and live your life accordingly. I will end at that, so you have plenty of time for the japa class. Let's all raise our hands and become free from the 5 Nescient engagements. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Thank you very much for the honor and privilege to speak to you on this science of Krishna consciousness.
Thank you for coming for tonight. So we'll now proceed for the artis.